I was just a simple, honest, and clumsy man. All I wanted was to live a peaceful life, build a career, and have a warm family. However, what I never expected was that after a car accident and memory loss, I accidentally discovered that my wife, Akira, had been cheating on me every single day. Furious, I was ready to cut ties with her once and for all. Yet, just as I was about to stand on the moral high ground and denounce her, my girlfriend showed up, bringing along my fiancé. Damn, isn't this just bullying an honest man? Chapter 1. After waking up from the car accident, I only remembered that I had just finished the college entrance exam and was preparing to go to university, but everything around me showed that I had already jumped 5 years ahead. I calmly looked at the girl sitting in front of me. She was peeling a peach while chatting with me about daily life. She complained, "Ugh, it's so annoying. This month I still have to record a new song and a few concerts. I can't spend too much time with you." She was very beautiful. Her young and radiant face carried a charming allure. On her left ear was a diamond earring. Her hair was styled in a side bun, which made her face look even more striking. As soon as she came, she rushed into my arms, then kissed my cheek. It all felt very natural, so I was certain she was my girlfriend. Chapter 2. It seemed that we often spent long periods apart. Does that mean our relationship is stable? I quietly thought to myself. I couldn't believe I was actually dating a celebrity from the entertainment industry. With a seductive smile, she said, "How about we go to Bali together next month?" Next month? I had no idea what kind of life I was living now, nor did I want to tell anyone that I had lost my memory. She handed me the peach, then held my hand. With her alluring and beautiful face, she softly asked, "Is your wife still cheating on you now?" Damn, my eyes shook with a level 10 earthquake. I was actually married and my wife had cheated on me. Wait, so that means I was cheating too? A celebrity actually knew I had a wife, yet still dated me. Luckily, I kept my head lowered so she didn't notice my shock. Chapter 3. I deflected and said, "It's all right, I guess." She asked again. That kind of shameless woman doesn't deserve any dignity. "Baby, when are you planning to divorce her and give me a proper title?" I was speechless. So I was even planning to divorce my wife and be with her. But honestly, if my wife cheats on me, then divorce really is the right choice. I sank into deep thought. Who exactly is my wife? Then she, my manager, knows a lawyer who's really good at divorce cases. Don't worry, we'll make sure she won't get a single advantage. I know you might be worried about damaging my image, but my fans are all rational supporters. You don't need to worry. Oh God, I was already completely immersed in her beauty. Who could resist the temptation of such a gorgeous woman? Her voice was so alluring, sultry, and sexy. My heart was tingling and numb. I wanted to sleep with her. I nodded honestly and obediently. All right. Chapter 4. She then asked, "Is that perverted female boss of yours still harassing you?" What the hell? Perverted female boss harassing me? I was utterly dumbfounded. Could things really be that messed up? She went on, "You should just quit your job. You always have to work overtime on weekend nights, earn barely any money, and still deal with a menopausal female boss giving you a hard time. It just so happens my uncle's company is hiring. You could transfer there and become a manager." So apparently I was working now and often doing overtime. What a miserable life, and being harassed by a female boss too. That was beyond bizarre. She must be old and ugly. I nodded absent-mindedly. Just then, my phone rang. Contact name, Boss Isabel. Such a nice name. What a pity. My girlfriend motioned for me to answer. She pressed the speaker button. For some reason, I felt a bit guilty inside and also unhappy with her doing that, but I didn't say anything. On the other end, a cold and clear female voice said, "Where did you go? Why didn't you come to work?" The voice sounded like a young woman, not old at all. Chapter 5. I cautiously replied, "I was in a car accident this morning. I'm in the hospital." She sounded worried and asked, "Are you okay? Which hospital?" I told her the hospital's name. My girlfriend still had concerts to prepare for. Based on her words, I concluded that she had just arrived in S City last night, so I went to find her and spent the night with her. In the morning, I left, and during our call, the accident happened. So it seemed my relationship with my girlfriend was stable and affectionate. First, I had to get divorced. Once divorced, I could be with her openly and proudly. But something felt odd. I had always been an honest, dutiful man. How did I end up cheating? It must have been because my wife cheated on me first, Then I was oppressed by my menopausal boss, which gradually twisted my personality, pushing me into having an affair. I never imagined my adult life would turn out this bitter. Luckily, I had such a beautiful girlfriend to comfort me. Otherwise, I might have gone completely dark. My boss rudely hung up the phone. My girlfriend clearly despised her. She said she had to attend an endorsement event. Wearing a mask and a baseball cap, she left first. Her body was curvy, voluptuous, with perfect proportions, and I desired her even more. Next time we meet, I'm definitely going to taste the forbidden fruit. Back in high school, I used to be curious about such things. Never thought I'd just wake up one day and actually get to experience such ecstasy with a gorgeous woman. Chapter 6. The guy in the bed next to mine looked at me enviously and said, "Your girlfriend really cares about you." I grinned and replied, "Of course, our relationship is stable. We're planning to get married." He nodded. "Not only does she have a good personality, but she's also gorgeous, though she does look kind of familiar." Since we were sharing a ward and a bit bored, we started chatting. Coincidentally, he also knew my girlfriend, Elena. Apparently, she had recently gone viral after appearing on a variety show thanks to her sultry makeup and styling for a song performance. Even someone like him, who normally never watches such shows, had seen her all over his feed. He kept going on about how beautiful Elena was, how great her figure was, and even said that dating a girl like her would make life worth dying for. I almost started to doubt his eyesight. He praised her that much, yet when she stood right in front of him, he didn't even recognize her. Chapter 7. He said, Elena once mentioned in an interview that men should be understood. Because of that, many big bloggers accused her of being a pick-me girl, so quite a few people online hated on her. My roommate chuckled. "That's hilarious. Those people don't even know what they're criticizing. They just insult her for being a pick-me girl, even demanding if she likes men, as if liking men is some kind of shame." When I heard that question asking her if she liked men, I felt as if the folds of my brain were smoothed by a gentle breeze. On the other hand, Elena had never had any scandals. Whenever male celebrities tried to stir up rumors with her, she would immediately post on Twitter to clarify her relationship with them. And because she was so straightforward, no one dared to mess with her again. Chapter 8. At noon, just as I was about to eat the hospital food, a tall, beautiful woman wearing silver-rimmed glasses walked in. Her long, fair fingers carried a food container. Both my roommate and I looked at her. Then she came straight to me, sat down in front of me, leaned in close, rubbed her nose against mine, and said with slight annoyance, "Can't you drive more carefully? Besides the concussion, is there anywhere else you're hurt?" Yet, deep inside, I felt that such intimate contact with her was the most natural thing in the world. I was stunned. She continued, "Don't worry about the pile of work you've got. I'll handle it for now." Thinking back to the call this morning, I cautiously tested, "Isabel?" She replied, "What about it?" So she really was the so-called perverted female boss. Damn, I was being harassed by a woman this stunning? Are we sure I wasn't the one harassing her? God, it was like I had fallen straight into a nest of beauties, and judging from her body language, our relationship wasn't simple at all. Could it be we'd already crossed the line? She opened the food container and said, "I was in a rush this time, so I just made some simple home-style dishes. Tonight, I'll cook something better and bring it over." Chapter 9. As she spoke, she picked up food for me and even fed me. The way she did it gave off a total wifey vibe. I turned my head to glance at the guy in the bed next to mine. He was also watching me. Then, silence. My female boss actually knew my taste in food. Not only that, she brought the meal personally and was feeding me. Was this supposed to be harassment? I chewed mechanically. The food was actually pretty good. But then she suddenly asked, "Where's your engagement ring?" I looked at her in bewilderment. She raised her hand, showing a plain ring, and said, "I've been wearing mine all along," which implied I wasn't wearing mine, and that was my fault. Wait, we were engaged? She looked at me knowingly, almost as if she could see right through me, and said with annoyance, "Still trying to hide it from your wife? When are you finally going to tell her?" I heard my roommate in the next bed suck in a sharp breath. I wanted to do the same, but I held it in. Chapter 10. She was clearly upset. Even the hand feeding me carried a trace of resentment. Pressing her lips together, she said, "Kenji, what makes you think I'll be your mistress forever?" Her cold eyes bore into me. My scalp tingled, and under her pressure, I had no choice but to say, I'll get divorced as soon as possible. Otherwise, I was genuinely afraid she might poison me. Her expression softened slightly. She blinked and smiled. That's better. My parents keep asking when we're getting married. You'd better finalize things soon, or if my parents find out, it'll just create another mess. I nodded randomly. Someone had to be lying. There was no way I could have a girlfriend, a fiancée, and a wife at the same time. There had to be some hidden truth behind all this. I was supposed to be a simple, honest man. Back in middle school and high school, all I ever thought about was studying. I never even dated. I was so upright that teachers told other students to learn from me. There's no way that 5 years later I would have become such a despised scumbag. Chapter 11. As I was thinking, she asked, "Have you quit smoking? Are you taking folic acid?" I blinked, confused. What the heck? She looked at me disapprovingly and said, "Didn't we agree to prepare for pregnancy? I've been taking folic acid for 2 months already, but you're so inconsistent." I stammered, "Why, you're pregnant." She tilted her head and said, "What's wrong with you? We're preparing to have a baby. That's the plan." I was completely lost for words. Preparing for pregnancy with my mistress behind my wife's back? She pressed her lips together again and said, "You should separate from your wife first. Otherwise, I'm afraid something might happen. She's so dirty. What if you catch something from her?" Her expression grew darker as she said, enunciating each word, "If that cheating woman messes around with other men again, I won't let her off. An old and ugly hag like her, married to you, yet still fooling around with others." My wife was old and ugly. Oh my God, how did I even manage to kiss her then? Was that the reason I didn't get close to her, which led to her cheating on me instead? But then why did I marry her in the first place? Was it because I'd given up on life and stopped working hard? While I was still trying to figure it out, Isabel pulled out 2 pills. She swallowed one, then handed the other to me, saying, "Folic acid. Hurry and take it." My scalp went numb. In my heart, I still felt like a high schooler. How had I ended up married, preparing for kids, and now even taking folic acid? But I nodded and said, "No problem." Only then did she look satisfied. Chapter 12. As soon as she left, I immediately pulled out my phone, hoping to find some clues. But my phone was cleaner than my own face. Absolutely nothing there, especially regarding those 2 people. The chat history with my girlfriend and my fiancé was completely blank. Damn it, who deleted them? Was it really that shameful? The only conclusion I could draw was that I had 3 women in my life. But since my wife was cheating, I could set her aside for now. Better deal with the wife first. But who exactly was my wife? My contacts didn't even have notes. Still, I quickly found out who she was. Chapter 13. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a mature and elegant woman walked into the ward. She wore a blue neck dress, her tall figure and long legs making her look especially stunning. She exuded a sophisticated, intellectual aura, every movement filled with irresistible charm. The moment I saw her, my heart began to pound uncontrollably. Wasn't this Akira, the school beauty I had secretly loved all through middle and high school? So I hadn't loved the wrong person after all. She was even more enchanting than she'd been as a student. I stared at her, practically drooling. She came closer, then hugged my arm, asking tenderly and affectionately, "Honey, why were you so careless?" Chapter 14. Honey? I was stunned. My supposedly old, ugly, cheating wife was her. I exchanged a glance with my roommate in the next bed. His eyes were fixed blankly on the ceiling. Silence. I sank into deep thought. Oh God, my dream had shattered. I had loved her for so many years. She was my youth. Why did she have to cheat on me? She asked, "What's wrong with you?" frowning. She looked at me with a hard expression, her voice soft and aggrieved. "What's wrong? Did you miss me?" "I'm sorry, honey. I know this business trip took longer than it should have, but I won't be leaving again for a while. Please forgive me, okay?" I was completely subdued by her gentle aura and soothing voice. So this was the reason I hadn't divorced her even after being betrayed? Was it because I still believed that love could numb the pain? Had she even knelt before me with this very body, crying and begging for forgiveness? It seemed that the older me hadn't matured at all. Instead, I had become indecisive. How could a cheating woman be tolerated? Resolute at last, I said directly, "No need to apologize. I'm not falling for that. Let's get divorced." Chapter 15. Her body stiffened in disbelief. She asked, "What did you just say?" I avoided her gaze and said, Cheating only comes in two amounts: 0 times or countless times. No matter how cowardly I used to be for not divorcing you, I must divorce you now." She laughed angrily, frowning. "Kenji, what did you say? Me cheating? When have I ever cheated? Explain it to me clearly." I froze. But both my girlfriend and my fiancée said she had cheated on me, yet judging from her expression, she didn't look like she was lying at all. Oh God, who on earth was lying to me? Is it even human to deceive an honest man like this? Forget it. I'd have to investigate later. So I grinned, grabbed her hand and said, "Ha ha, just kidding. I was acting. How was my performance?" Her expression darkened. She glared coldly at me and said, "Don't ever let me hear the word divorce again. That word doesn't exist in my dictionary." Only, I quickly interrupted, Of course. Chapter 16. The goddess I had admired for so many years turned out to be my wife. She took care of me meticulously, as if I were some helpless invalid. She even discussed plans to go back with me to my parents' house for the weekend. When she went to the bathroom, I opened her phone. The password was my birthday. I quickly skimmed through our chat history at lightning speed. Damn, even with my wife, there were no chat logs. Who the hell was so ruthless as to delete everything? Chapter 17. But in her phone, our messages were sweet and affectionate. We messaged almost every single day. With this kind of consistency, it really didn't look like she was cheating. And no matter how honest or cowardly I might be, there's no way I'd stay with her if I knew I'd been cheated on. Besides, whenever I looked at her, my thoughts went straight to the things I shouldn't be thinking. There wasn't even a hint of anger. Our chats were full of daily life updates, small talk, and corny "miss you" and "love you" exchanges. When I was on business trips, I'd buy her small cakes or flowers as gifts. When she went on business trips, she'd stock the fridge full before leaving. She had just been away for 2 weeks. Before she left, she had filled the freezer with dumplings, buns, and steamed bread. I remembered I didn't like takeout. I loved eating dumplings and buns, but only homemade ones, never the frozen stuff from a supermarket. It seemed this wife of mine wasn't bad at all. Chapter 18. Suddenly, a realization hit me, and I shuddered. And at this moment, my friends might ask, Kenji, then why did you cheat?" The craziest part was that I had not one but 2 affairs. I frowned, deep in thought. There was no way I had turned into a scumbag. From childhood to now, I had always been a model student, an honest man with ideals, faith, and morals. Back in middle and high school, I had restrained myself and never dated early. One of my life goals had always been to have children and build a warm home. I couldn't possibly have grown up wanting 3 warm homes. So the problem must lie with someone else. Judging by appearances, my wife didn't know about my affairs. Meanwhile, the other 2 women knew I had a wife, but didn't know I also had a girlfriend or a fiancée. Since I was already married and the marriage seemed pretty solid, cheating was still wrong. I clenched my fists. While uncovering the truth, I also had to figure out a way to break up with the other 2 and then return to my family. Chapter 19. I sent messages separately to Isabel and Elena. I told them not to come looking for me. To Isabel, I said I needed to confront my wife and get a divorce. To Elena, I said I had to work overtime at the company. I figured I should break up with Elena first. She was a celebrity. It would be easier to end things with her. After sending the texts, my right thumb instinctively and skillfully pressed the chat box and tapped delete conversation. I was devastated. What kind of muscle memory was that? I stared at my right hand finger and cursed silently. Damn hand. So it was you that deleted all my chat history. Meanwhile, my wife stayed with me in the hospital. She leaned affectionately against my shoulder and asked me to watch a movie with her. Before long, she fell asleep resting on me. Chapter 20. She told me that in order to come back earlier, she had only slept 5 hours the night before. I turned my head and saw the weariness under her eyes, and my heart ached. If my wife hadn't wronged me, and yet I had cheated, I could forgive myself, but I'd still call myself a scumbag. Breaking up was a must. I quietly thought about how I should say it. After all, one woman was preparing to find me a divorce lawyer, and the other was preparing for pregnancy. Chapter 21. After one day in the hospital, I was fine again, full of energy, and went home with my wife. We lived in a duplex, nice. The house was neat and cozy. Our bedroom was on the 2nd floor. On the wall hung our wedding photo. My wife wore a white gown, looking gentle and beautiful, her shy eyes gazing at me. I looked handsome too, with a faint smile as I looked back at her warmly. The bedroom was a suite, very spacious. On the coffee table outside, there was also a photo album. It was full of pictures of me and my wife going out, or just being at home. Sometimes we'd take a quick snapshot while eating out, and it had been printed and placed there too. There were pictures from our student days, looking young and inexperienced, and others from after we started working, looking more mature. From those photos, our relationship looked very good, extremely sweet. We must have been together since college, because in one picture I was holding her in front of University A's gate while she raised her admission letter. She smiled sweetly with a little shyness. I also had a faint smile. Back in high school, I had already liked her. She went to University A in the capital. Originally, I wanted to stay in S City to develop, but I still chose University A in the capital. Yet in my memory, all I could recall was being admitted. I had even been fretting over what excuse I could use to talk to Akira. Looking at those photos, guilt surged in my chest. Just as I was flipping through the album, trying to see what kind of life I had been living these years, my wife suddenly hooked her arm around my neck, stood on tiptoe, and kissed me. Chapter 22. Her sweet breath brushed against the tip of my nose, and in the next second, my whole body sprang to life. She gave me a seductive smile and said, "So excited? Looks like you really missed me." At this point, I didn't waste any more words. I scooped her up in my arms and tossed her onto the bed in the bedroom. As I leaned over her, gazing at her radiant, enchanting face, desire consumed me, leaving me restless and unsettled. It felt as though her once pure innocence had been stained with the dust of the mortal world because of me. Back then, I had only liked her on a spiritual level. I had never fantasized about taking our relationship to this point. But now, she skillfully aroused my desire, and we became entangled, falling together into the sea of lust. Chapter 23. Afterward, I felt as though I might die from sheer excitement. My wife nestled in my arms, quietly gazing at me. Puzzled, I asked, "What is it? Why are you looking at me like that?" Her captivating peach blossom eyes reflected only me as she said, "I was thinking about what you said yesterday." I asked, "What did I say?" She replied, "That you wanted to divorce me." I hurriedly explained, "That was just a joke." She shook her head. "Honey, don't joke about something like that. I'd lose my mind." Guilt nodded at me. She rose and left the bedroom. When she returned, she held a green hat in her hand. Startled, I exclaimed, "What's the meaning of this?" Before I could react, she pulled the hat over my head. Only then did I see clearly. It was a robber's ski mask. She leaned close, guiding my hand to her soft body, and the next second her eyes grew red as she pleaded pitifully. "No, no, please don't. I have a husband." I was shocked. Did we normally play around like this, even role-playing? But it was kind of interesting. Chapter 24. The next day, I went to work. I had found the company's address from my social security records. I didn't dare tell my wife I had lost my memory. She also suggested I change jobs. She said, "Isn't that menopausal female boss of yours always giving you trouble, always making you work overtime? Since we're not short on money at home, why not do something you actually enjoy?" She continued, "You love writing novels. Why not devote yourself to that?" That's right. I was actually a novelist. That morning, I opened my phone and discovered private messages on social media. Looking through them, I realized I had already written several books. I remembered this had been my hobby back in middle and high school. I used to scribble stories in notebooks. Never thought that as an adult I would become a published author, and some of my books had even sold well. I was satisfied with my career, but not with my love life. As someone who had always followed the rules, studied hard, and gone to university in the proper way, I would never have strayed from the right path. Still, if I broke up with Isabel, I might have to resign too, since seeing her afterward would be awkward, and with Isabel looking the way she did, I feared I wouldn't be able to resist temptation. Chapter 25. I agreed obediently. My wife kissed me again and said, "Love you." I felt a little uneasy. After all, in my memory, she was still the untouchable school beauty I had once worshipped. But I couldn't help savoring last night with her. She had been tender and gentle, passionate and wild, even overwhelming like a tidal wave. Who would have thought that behind her graceful and quiet exterior hid such madness? She even whispered things to speed up my attack, so to speak. Compared to her usual image, It was a striking contrast. Chapter 26. Carrying the sweetness of being with my wife. I went to the company. From my emails, I figured out my job title. Before heading in, I ordered a big bag of breakfast and asked the receptionist to bring it to my desk. Sure enough, the receptionist knew where my seat was and delivered it. I let colleagues who hadn't eaten breakfast help themselves. When my boss, Isabel, saw the group crowding around for food, she walked through them and entered her office. I looked toward that office and made up my mind. I had to break up with her. I couldn't betray my wife. Chapter 27. After the colleagues returned to their desks, I turned on my computer. Thankfully, my habits hadn't changed. I had a clear to-do list and even a dedicated document recording various work points. Following it step by step, I quickly got back into the rhythm. At 10 a.m., Isabel messaged me to come in. I clenched my jaw, tightened my fist. I had to say it. I knocked on her door and entered. She had already closed both the door and the curtains. My scalp prickled with unease. She naturally pulled me to sit down, frowning as she said, "Don't tell me. Fresh out of the hospital, and your wife cheated on you again. Look at you, pale as a ghost. It must have pissed you off." I was speechless. Not entirely wrong, though it wasn't anger, just exhaustion. I thought for a moment. Better to rip the Band-Aid off. So I said, "Isabel, I have something to tell you." But she shook her head. Wait a moment. Chapter 28. She took out a small bottle from her bag, poured out a pill, swallowed one herself, and handed me one. I asked, "What's this?" She answered impatiently, "Folic acid." I stared at the pill, thinking I had to make things clear now. Otherwise, who knew how long I'd be forced to take this stuff? I pushed her hand away, looked her straight in the eyes, and said each word firmly, "Let's break up." Her expression froze. Her face turned especially ugly, like storm clouds gathering. Biting her lip, she said, "Say that again?" Feeling guilty, I stammered. "My wife is actually really good. What we're doing is wrong. It's immoral." "Oh, fuck. What are you doing?" Chapter 29. She held a fruit knife in her hand, and she aimed it straight at her wrist. Hysterically, she shouted, "You want to break up with me? Is that it? Fine. I'll die right here in front of you. May you and your wife step over my corpse and grow old together." Her eyes burned with hatred as she glared at me. "Kenji, I've been your shameful mistress for half a year. What did you give me? You gave me hope, only to shatter it with your own hands. Fine, break up, but I'll make you regret it for the rest of your life." Saying that, she moved to slash her wrist. I rushed forward to stop her, shouting, Calm down. We can talk this out. Let's talk it out." I was joking. I'm not breaking up, really." She stared at me. I raised my right hand. "I swear," she demanded. "When will you divorce her?" Grinding my teeth, I forced out, "I just need a little more time." She snorted coldly. "Kenji, what makes you think I'll stay your mistress forever?" I was speechless. If I tried to break up with her, she threatened to die? Women's thoughts, you can't possibly guess them. Finally, I understood why I'd slipped up. She was forcing me with the threat of death. If I refused and she really did die, my conscience would never be at peace. So I could only soothe her. Soon. I'll bring it up as soon as I get home." Chapter 30. Then her demeanor shifted again. She leaned on my shoulder, sitting sideways on my lap, and whispered, "I love you, Kenji. Without you, I'll die." She kissed me, and it felt pathological. She even swallowed the pill herself, then pushed it into my mouth with a kiss. I swallowed helplessly, afraid she'd threatened to kill herself again. The next moment, she straddled me, and by the time I realized what she was about to do, it was already too late. Afterward, I couldn't even bring myself to look at that chair. When I finally tidied up my clothes, she had already returned to her icy, domineering boss persona. Awkwardly, I stood, ready to flee, but she grabbed my arm and instructed coldly, "Pack up. Tomorrow the two of us are going on a business trip." She paused, then sneered. "After all this time, how are you still acting like some rookie?" I just never imagined it would be this absurd. Yes, I was forced. Yes, I gave in out of kindness, trying to save a life, but still messing around in the office. My current mindset is still that of a freshly graduated high school student. Suddenly being promoted to such a wild adult version, it feels like I'm no longer pure. Chapter 31. I sat at my desk, lost and broken. My boss was impossible to reason with. What was I supposed to do? I never thought she would turn out to be this kind of person. I suspected that even from the very beginning, she had cornered me with her life-or-death threats. Since I couldn't deal with my boss yet, I'd handle Elena first. But this time, I couldn't be reckless like I was with Isabel, otherwise I'd fail again. I had to come up with an excuse. That evening, I told my wife I had to work overtime. I told my boss I had to go home early to confront my wife. And then I made an appointment with Elena. As I watched my fingers skillfully type out excuses and then just as skillfully delete the chat history, I fell into despair. The one betraying me was my own fingers. These fingers had grown in vain. Chapter 32. Elena had chosen a very secluded restaurant. When I arrived at the private room, she was already waiting inside. Before I could even open my mouth, she pressed herself against me, showering me with countless kisses. It felt as if my body knew hers all too well. Damn it! My traitorous mouth betrayed my soul, kissing her back eagerly like I'd never tasted saliva before. Just like in Isabel's office, by the time I realized what she was about to do, it was already too late. After it was over, I found myself thinking about buying kidney supplements. That was the real priority, not some damn folic acid. Chapter 33. While straightening my clothes, I couldn't help but think to myself, sleeping with such a gorgeous woman really was satisfying. She clung to me coquettishly, saying, "Did you miss me? You were in such a hurry to see me." Awkwardly, I dodged her kiss, but she just leaned in again. I'll admit I enjoyed it, being forcibly kissed by a beauty. Who could understand that feeling? But I had to steady my resolve and not waver. Chapter 34. I cleared my throat and said to her, "There's something I need to tell you." Her eyes still glistened with longing as she asked, "What is it?" I said seriously, "I can't divorce my wife because she's pregnant with my child." Elena immediately sat upright. In an instant, her demeanor shifted from sweet and dependent to sharp and menacing. All of her gentleness vanished. My scalp prickled, ready for her to pull out a knife and threaten self-harm. Thankfully, she didn't. She asked me calmly, "How far along is she?" Chapter 35. I stammered, 3 months. We just found out." She thought for a moment, then said, "But is it possible the child isn't yours? 3 months ago you told me she cheated on you. That's why you—" I was speechless. I said, "It's mine." She asked, "How do you know it's yours?" I said, "I just know." She scoffed, "I don't believe you. I'll go to her right now and make her get a paternity test. You're not going to be some backup option." With that, she stood up, grabbed her car keys, and was ready to leave. I was dumbfounded. I hurried to stop her. "What are you doing?" she snapped angrily. "Didn't I say it already? I'll confront your wife. You don't love her, and she doesn't love you. You two should divorce instead of keeping you as her spare. That would be better for everyone." I nearly died on the spot. Quickly, I begged, "Miss, I was wrong. She's not pregnant. I was joking with you." She frowned. "Then what's your point?" Lowering my head, I said, "I'm sorry, I can't divorce my wife. I've already wronged her enough. I don't want to keep this up between us. You'll find someone better." Damn, what are you doing?" Chapter 36. She pulled out her phone and drafted a post. It read, "Kenji's wife, please leave him. He doesn't love you. In love. The unloved one is the real mistress." I grabbed her hand. "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm going to make our relationship public." Damn it. Our relationship. Was it even something to be made public? She was a celebrity. We locked eyes. 3 seconds later, I said, "I'll bring up divorce as soon as I get home." During dinner, she suddenly said, "You reminded me. We should have a child." My scalp went numb. "But you're still in the middle of your career," I said. She replied, "If necessary, I can leave the industry, return to family life, and be a devoted wife and mother." I was speechless. I said, "I think we're still young. We should focus on learning." She frowned. "So you don't want to have kids with me? You want to keep a way out for yourself?" "Kenji, what about me isn't good enough for you? I have the looks, I have the body, and I love you far more than you love me. Why are you always running from me? Always running from her?" So this was another one who clung relentlessly? Was it really this dangerous for an honest, upright man like me to go out into the world? I could only try to appease her. Okay, fine. Let's have kids, however many you want, even 100. I won't stop you." Satisfied inside, I screamed silently, but in reality, I shrank down like a quail. Chapter 37. After dinner, she asked me to accompany her to a pharmacy. I had to admit, my girlfriend was truly stunning. Even when she went out wrapped tightly in a baseball cap and mask, she still looked so breathtaking, a real head-turner. In that moment, I thought, maybe it wasn't so bad, we hadn't broken up. But that thought vanished the instant I saw what medicine she bought. I asked, "What's this?" She said, "Folic acid." "Damn it," she added, "for pregnancy prep. 1 pill a day for each of us." I accepted it with a smile. I went home exhausted at heart. Chapter 38. Back home, I immediately felt a wave of relief, but my wife was sitting in the living room with an unhappy face. The moment she saw me, she looked at me blankly, without expression. "Akira told me this was bad," she said. "2 women sent me messages." I stammered, "What?" "What?" she said. "They both claimed that you and they were true love and told me to leave on my own." She handed me her phone. Damn it. How did they even get her number? Message 1. "Miss Liu, Kenji loves me. We're in a hurry to marry and have children. Please leave on your own. Kenji is too nice to say it outright, but I think you should know your place." Message 2. "I'm Elena. Kenji and I are true love. You set the conditions, but divorce quickly. I'm already preparing for pregnancy." Chapter 39. I was already expressionless. Akira asked, "Who are they?" I hesitated, then answered, "Maybe some lunatics just released from a mental hospital? What normal person would send such messages?" Before she could respond, the doorbell rang. She went to open the door. I sat on the sofa, feeling as embarrassed as if I had cut class early to grab lunch in high school and got caught by the teacher, dragged off to stand in the office. My mind scrambled for excuses, and then from the door I heard a familiar voice. "Hello, I'm Kenji's fiancée. My name is Isabel." My head turned mechanically. I didn't dare open my eyes, hoping it was all just an illusion. Chapter 40. In the living room, Isabel thoughtfully brought along a fruit basket, but I suspected what she really wanted to bring was a baby. Silence. Silence is golden. Isabel smiled warmly at my wife, Akira. She said, "I didn't expect Miss Liu to be so young and beautiful. Kenji always said you were a nagging old hag, ugly and worn out." Akira Liu crossed her arms, silently watching her. Isabel gave me a playful smile and said, "I know you can't bring yourself to say it, so I'll do it for you." Expressionless, I went to put away the fruit knife on the coffee table. Akira looked at me, then at her, and asked, "Isabel, are you the one in a hurry to get pregnant?" Isabel looked surprised. "What?" Before my wife could explain, the doorbell rang again. Akira tilted her head toward the door and instructed, "Go open it." Chapter 41. Isabel went to open the door. I stayed standing in the same place, not knowing what to do. At the entrance, a familiar voice sounded again. "Hello, I'm Kenji's girlfriend. My name is Elena." I wanted to die at that very moment. In the living room, the 4 of us each occupied a sofa. Akira, with her arms crossed, sat at the head of the room. Glancing sideways at Elena, she said, "Are you the one who asked me to set conditions?" Elena asked, "What?" Akira, unshaken, tapped her fingers on the tea table and said, "One calls herself my husband's fiancée, and another claims to be his girlfriend. Both want me to divorce him." Then she looked at me and asked, "Honey, what do you have to say?" Chapter 42. Isabel asked me, "Kenji, who is she?" Elena asked me, "Kenji, how come in your house there's both a wife and a fiancé?" I said awkwardly, "It's a misunderstanding, all a misunderstanding." With pleading eyes, I added, "I was wrong. I'm just a kid. Please let me go and just leave." Isabel pressed her lips and said, "I'm his boss, Isabel. We've already gotten engaged in the capital, met our parents, and are preparing to get married and have children." Elena said with disdain, "So you're that menopausal boss clinging desperately to Kenji." Then Elena looked at Akira and said, "And you're that old and ugly trashy woman who cheated on Kenji, the one called Akira?" Isabel said, "I've never heard Kenji mention you, so I don't know you, sorry." My wife, Akira, said, "I've never heard Kenji mention either of you either, sorry." Silence. 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 In my heart, speechless, speechless, speechless. Chapter 43. Elena said, "Name your terms. What will it take for you to leave Kenji?" Isabel sneered, "We're engaged. You, the mistress number 4, shouldn't be so shameless." Elena shot back, "Who's the mistress number 4? That's not certain yet. We've been together for half a year." My wife Akira's gaze grew cold. Isabel said, We've been together for 8 months. Akira said. Then you're mistress number 3 and she's mistress number 4. Then my wife looked at me. Any objections? What's the point of ranking them seriously? I shook my head. My wife said, I will never divorce. And let me warn you both, stop throwing yourselves at my husband. You're just hotels, this here is home. Husband, say something. I stiffened my face and said, I really can't divorce. I'm begging you. Fuck, Elena, stop. Don't post on Twitter. Don't. Wife, stop. Isabel. She's heading to the kitchen to grab a knife and slit her wrists. Chapter 44. The living room instantly turned into utter chaos. Elena wanted to post on Twitter to expose our relationship. She just wanted to drag me down with her. Isabel wanted to grab a knife and die in front of us to make us regret it forever. Akira sat unmoving, saying, I want to see if she'll really do it. Then her cold gaze shifted to Elena. Let her post. Husband, even if the whole world spits on you, this place will always be your safe harbor. Isabel snorted. Kenji doesn't love you at all. Can you stop being so delusional? Elena cut in. Kenji loves me. Akira sneered. Just looking at the way you're cornering him now, I can tell how you've been pressuring him behind closed doors. My husband is a simple, honest man. He must have been threatened and morally blackmailed by you. That's the only reason he betrayed me. My husband? I know him best. My eyes welled up with tears. Even though I had forgotten the past, I understood myself. I really was just a straightforward, honest man. It was all those vixens outside who had ruined things. My wife reached her hand toward me. Husband, let's go. If they want to throw themselves at you and give it all away for free, let them. Our family won't suffer a loss. Chapter 45. I still loved my wife more. Quickly, I wrapped my arm around her shoulders and went upstairs with her. I hoped the other two would finally understand our meaning. This really couldn't go on. In the bedroom, wife, I'm sorry. She sighed. What are you sorry for? I said, I'm sorry for everything. She said, your biggest mistake was meeting those bitches and not telling me. If you had told me, would they have barged into our home threatening life and death? I nodded hastily. My wife was too good. She actually understood my struggles. If only she didn't go crazy, squeezing me dry at night. She made me wear head coverings in different colors and said if I dared to divorce her, she wouldn't kill herself. She wouldn't expose me. She'd just lock me in a dark room and drain me dry. I realized my wife was the scariest one of all, because she meant it. Chapter 46. I thought Isabel and Elena would retreat after all that. Instead, the two of them moved into our home. Isabel said, we're already engaged. Kenji must marry me. If Miss Liu refuses to divorce, I'll stay right here. Whenever you agree to leave, we'll go. Elena declared, Kenji and I are true love. I won't leave. The one who should leave is you. My wife said, Mistress number 3, Mistress number 4, if you insist on living here, you must follow the house rules. Cooking, laundry, all of it is your responsibility. Otherwise, I'll throw you out. Isabel snorted coldly. Mistress number 4, aren't you supposed to have a big temper? Why haven't you left yet? Elena said, Mistress number 3, don't think I don't know what you're plotting. If you can't even put up with this, how dare you say you love Kenji? I'll wait, I don't mind. I was mortified. Did anyone care about my feelings at all? Chapter 47. In the morning, after washing up, I went downstairs with my wife. Isabel had made breakfast. After the whole family ate, Elena washed the dishes. When she wasn't performing at concerts, she practiced her singing at home. She had even asked my wife to give her space to store her instruments. She said it might need some renovations. My wife told her to write a formal application. Elena, humiliated, agreed. I want to work with Isabel. My wife reminded her, Mistress number 3, don't forget your place. On the road, Isabel asked me, why won't you divorce her? She's so unbearable. I said helplessly, if I asked for a divorce, she'd probably kill me. Isabel sucked in a sharp breath. Sorry, I shouldn't have pressured you before. She clearly isn't a good person. She cursed Akira all the way in the car. At the office, she called me in from time to time to have secret trysts. She even forced me to take folic acid. The most outrageous time, I had to take 3 pills in one day because my wife also said it was time we had a child. In the afternoon, Elena would show up downstairs at my office to bring me afternoon tea. Then she'd book a hotel room by the hour, pretending to be weak and dizzy to trick me. At night, my wife would cuddle in my arms as we watched a movie. She'd say, Mistress number 3, cut some fruit. Mistress number 4, go mop the floor. I was speechless. Chapter 48. One day, I finally regained my memories. It turned out that after filling out my college entrance exam applications, I had mustered the courage to reach out to Akira and told her I wanted to go to the capital with her. Then I helped her carry her luggage, and we went to register together. And just like that, after spending time together, we naturally became a couple. Akira told me she had liked me before as well. She had just been waiting for the exams to end. After graduating from university, we got married, and after marriage, life was sweet. Chapter 49. As for how I ended up with Isabel, it happened on a business trip. Both of our drinks had been spiked, and so by some twisted accident, we ended up together. The next morning, we had agreed to just forget it. But then Isabel begged me to be with her again, and then once turned into twice, and more and more. Since it had already happened, what difference did a few more times make? By the time I realized something was wrong, she was already threatening me with a fruit knife, saying I wasn't allowed to break up. Chapter 50. As for Elena, I met her because one of my novels was being adapted into a movie. Elena was chosen to sing the theme song, so she discussed the plot details with me. After all, she had to write the lyrics. I sat in her music studio, listening to her beautiful voice, completely entranced. By the time things developed to a certain point, it was already too late to stop. Chapter 51. I could only walk a tightrope. When I couldn't make it to Elena's appointment, I said my boss was exploiting me with overtime. When I couldn't meet Isabel, I said my wife was cheating and I was going to catch her in the act. And I couldn't be with my wife. I also said I was working late. And so the lies piled higher and higher. An honest man forced by circumstance, I became a playboy. In my youth, I dreamed of settling down and having a warm home of my own. I never expected that when I grew up, that dream would come true. This home wasn't just warm, it was a little crowded.